Welcome to the Silver Screen Podcast. I'm Jared Boomer.
And I'm Katie Gainey West. This is a podcast about movies and pop culture.
And on this episode, we're going to be recapping the 95th Academy Awards.
Woo!
All the big surprises, the winners. We'll get to that here in just a few minutes. And overall, it was a pretty chill show compared to last year.
Jared, I loved it.
Very
I felt
drama-free.
like it was drama-free, and I was elated about the winners. And I was sad that you and I didn't get to be together, but I had a really nice time, and I was thrilled for the people that won, and I just felt like everybody that won, whether I wanted them to or not, but most of them I did want to win, but they were all so gracious. Everybody was so happy to be there, thankful to be there. There were a lot of historic wins. It was one of the best ceremonies I can remember in recent years.
Yeah, I thought it was really good ceremony, except for being a little too long. But we'll talk
Well,
about
wait,
that in a few minutes.
but I'm surprised you said, because normally it goes to like midnight. Like
That's true. It normally does go pretty long,
and it ended at 11:38.
and they broadcast all the categories,
and they did all the categories. I feel like they cut out a lot of the fluff that they didn't need and did a really good job.
I think so it's not so much the length of it. I think it's the way they structure what awards they give out when, which I'll talk more about in a few minutes, because I think that's maybe my concern with it. So
yeah.
But we will be talking about the 95th Academy Awards today. But first, we do have a correction. On our last episode, or on the Fabelmans episode, I said that Steven Spielberg did not direct the fourth Indiana Jones movie, Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, but he did direct that movie, but he is not directing the new Indiana Jones movie that is coming out later this year, which is called the Compass of...
Oh, I definitely forget. I forgot that the fourth one was called The Kingdom of the Crystal Skull.
The Dial of Destiny. I said the Compass of Time.
Oh, wow.
I was
okay.
I was sort of close, but not really. No.
Yeah.
So Dial of Destiny.
I like the sound of that better than the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. I feel like that's too much to remember.
That's lengthy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. So just wanted to make that correction, and then now we'll get into our recommendations. Katie, what do you have to recommend this week?
Well, I've been a little Netflix watcher this week. I finally watched Emily in Paris season 3. I know some of you listening are like, Katie, that came out months ago. It sure did. But I finally got to watch it, and I did have a feeling, not to keep talking about going to Europe, but it was so cool, just like I thought, to go to Paris and see these sites and then watch the show. And so many of the places she went, I was like, I stood right there. I know exactly where she's at. I know like what that building looks like behind her. It was really cool. And I think to some people they wouldn't care, but I'm sure there are some that can relate that if you get to go see a place where like a movie is set or a show, it's neat to watch it back and know that you've been there. I felt the same way when I went to the Mansfield Reformatory in Ohio where they filmed Shawshank. It was really cool to like watch that movie again and know what the actual structure looks like. So I watched that, and it was cute. Again, listen, people, I don't tune in for the acting. I tune in for the fashion and the drama. And then speaking of drama, I also watched You season 4, part 2 came out over the weekend. I finished it. I think it's only 4 episodes or so. That show gets crazier and crazier. I will say, in my opinion, I didn't love the twist this season.
Okay.
I won't say anything about it, won't spoil it or anything, but I didn't love the twist, but I do think they keep it interesting enough, and it's such a beloved show for the subject matter being so bizarre, that I think they definitely can keep it going. I think they're going to do 2 more seasons. But I really like You, and I was glad to watch it. So I watched Netflix all weekend.
Nice. Very nice. I don't have a ton of recommends this week for things that I've been watching. Before the Oscars, I was just trying to catch up on we were trying to catch up on the Best Picture nominees, so I was watching a lot of those. Haven't been watching a ton of TV. Still watching that Perfect Match show on Netflix. Still not finished with that yet. And other than that, not watching a ton. Although lots of stuff is getting ready to come back very soon. Like when we're recording this, Ted Lasso premieres this week.
Succession's coming.
A new season of Barry is coming.
The Bear is coming back in June. Yep. I know that's still a little while, but yeah, there's a lot of good shows coming back soon.
Yeah, so it's getting ready to ramp up where we're going to have lots of TV to talk about. And I did finish The Last of Us, so watch the season finale.
Oh, yes.
Pretty solid pretty solid season. I thought it was really good. Some episodes I thought were better than others, but all of the episodes were more solid and definitely were like a B probably, but some of them are like an A or an A plus. So,
Awesome. I've heard
if
good
you
things.
yeah, I would check it out if you're interested in a good drama. So, okay, well, now we'll get into our discussion on the 95th Academy Awards, which happened Sunday, March 12th on ABC once again this year, hosted by Jimmy Kimmel once again this year. And we will take a quick break here on the show. And then when we come back, we'll get into, some of the big things that happened, the big winners, the fashion, all of that when we return here on the Silver Screen Podcast. And we're back here on the Silver Screen Podcast talking about the Oscars, and we're going to get into everything that happened at the Academy Awards. My first thing, though, was how did you feel, Katie, about the champagne carpet? Not red this year, but champagne.
I mean, so do you know the reasoning? Because I heard it, they were not doing red, but I didn't read the reasoning. I didn't notice it a lot because I did host a small soiree at our house. And so I had it on in the background and because normally for that hour right before I just stare at the TV and watch the red carpet, but I couldn't this year. So I didn't actually notice that until after the ceremony and people were talking about how it wasn't a red carpet. So I don't know the reasoning that might sway my opinion. I love red. I love a red carpet. I think that is so Hollywood and iconic. But if they had a good reason for it, I'm totally fine with them changing the color.
Yeah, I didn't hear a reason for it either. I would say that I thought it kind of affected some of the fashion because like a lot of the women this year wore white or cream, and that with the champagne carpet just kind of like faded it out, where if it had been a red carpet, I think it would have probably looked a lot better with some of those outfits.
Yeah.
So
that's interesting. So I looked it up. This is really dumb reasoning. I mean, I don't know. Maybe I'd have to sit on it and think about it. According to BBC.com, the decision to change the red carpet after 62 years, so it hasn't even been the whole duration of the Oscars, was made by a creative consultant who explained that a champagne-colored carpet would help with the change from daytime arrivals to an elegant evening setting. Here's what I have to say about that. Cool. Love that you're trying something new. I don't think anyone who's there that could win an Oscar or is just able to go to the Oscars is really thinking about the carpet choice, why it looks that way, and an elegant evening setting. I think they're just like, oh crap, I'm so excited to be at the Oscars. But that could just be me.
Also, it's like it's iconic, the red carpet with
It
the
is.
Oscars. I mean, like it's like the shows are called like Live from the Red Carpet, you know? Like that's what they call them to interview the people before the Oscars. So, I think they should just have kept it red. Maybe it'll change back next year. We'll have to wait and see. So, my only other complaint with the Oscars red carpet coverage, I was watching ABC, and I just thought they interviewed some of the nominees, but they did not interview a lot of the nominees.
You're right. I did notice that.
Surprising.
Because I was preparing food, and so I could hear what was going on, and I noticed they weren't really interviewing a lot of the big names or anything, which was weird.
Yeah, they had a lot of like big actors and actresses. Like they got Florence Pugh on. They had Hugh Grant at one point, which was like a very awkward interview. And they had some other people on, but I'm like, they had a few near the end, like right before the Oscars started, of some of the nominees. But I'm like, you should be trying to snag as many nominees as you can. Like, why is Steven Spielberg not on? Why is Sarah Polley not on? Why is a lot of these acting nominees, why are they not getting interviewed? They did interview Carrie Condon, and I think just about everybody from everywhere, everything all at once. So, yeah. But other than that, they did not have a lot of stars or nominees, I guess, that were being interviewed. So,
also, this isn't quite to do with that, but it was another thing I think bared mentioning. Did you notice the two big names that were not there that night were James Cameron and Tom Cruise? Jimmy Kimmel did make a joke about it that made me laugh hysterically, because he was talking about the people who insisted we go to the movies this year are not here at the show. And he was also talking about like how James Cameron loves to make like 8-hour-long movies and how the Oscar ceremony should be no big deal because it's long, but like it's not as lengthy as a James Cameron film. I thought that was funny. I didn't
notice
care.
That, yes.
I didn't care that either of them were not there, but I did notice like that was interesting because they had two of the biggest movies that came out in the last year.
And both their movies were nominated for Best Picture, the biggest award of the night. So now, not really projected to win, but they were nominated. So, Let's get into some historic moments now that happened at the Academy Awards. We had a lot of obviously first time winners, a lot of first time nominees as well. So that's historic in and of itself. But there were some
Yes.
other specific things that happened that have not happened at any ceremony before.
Yes, Michelle Yao was the one that I think most people are talking about, and I was so excited for. She became the first Asian actress to win. And if you've heard any rumblings on the internet, Merle Oberon was actually half Asian, but couldn't really identify as such openly back in the early days of filmmaking, like in the 30s. She also didn't win an Oscar, but she was famous, and I think she might have been nominated. I'll double check that while we're talking about other things. But Michelle Yao became the first Asian actress to win, which is so exciting. Very happy for her.
Very cool. And then Guillermo del Toro, who actually won the very first award of the night for Pinocchio, is the first person to win Best Director, Best Picture, and Best Animated Film because of Shape of Water also won.
Yeah,
And so that's pretty cool that he's done live action stuff obviously, and now he's doing animation. I liked his speech too. He was like,
I did too.
animation is cool. It's not just for kids. Thanks to Netflix for getting it out to more people. So, and Netflix had two. They had that and the Sea Beast that were both nominated in that
Oh,
best
that's right.
animated feature film category. So, to have two of the five is pretty impressive.
Yeah, I think Netflix had a good year overall. Like the people are really taking their streaming platform seriously. I did like Guillermo's speech as well. And then just to go back quickly, Merle Oberon, I was right. She was nominated for an Academy Award for her performance in The Dark Angel in 1935, but she didn't win. However, she was the first Asian actress to receive a nomination for Best Actress.
Okay, very
Yes.
nice.
And then another fun thing of the night, a historic moment, Natu Natu became the first Indian song to be nominated and win an Oscar. I have not seen RRR, but I know it's on, someone told me it's on Netflix now,
It is on Netflix. Yeah.
which
Yep.
I do think I'm going to have to watch it. But the whole cast, everybody that was there representing that film was delightful. And I did love the dance. I really, as a big fan of dance in general, I was very impressed with that dancing style. And I kept hearing that song had a high likelihood to win, but I'm excited for them. Again, first Indian song to be nominated and win an Oscar.
Also, shout out to those performers because that
Oh
dance
my
is like a
gosh.
lot of jumping, like throughout the
Yes.
dance, and that it has to be just insanely difficult to do,
Hmm.
and also like stay in time and look look good on television as well. So, also Ruth E. Carter became the first Black woman to win two Oscars, both for costume design, both for the Black Panther movies. She won for
Amazing.
the original Black Panther, and then for Wakanda Forever, and the costumes in both of those movies are incredible. So well
That
deserved.
was that was one of the ones on the ballot I got wrong, but I'm glad I was wrong because I was blown away by the costumes in Black Panther Wakanda Forever, and especially the funeral scene. I'll never get over that funeral scene at the beginning. But she did a miraculous job. I did have to read that statistic multiple times because I was like, that can't possibly be true that she's the first Black woman to win two Oscars, but it is indeed true, sadly. But we are so proud of her. That's awesome. Let's keep up the momentum and give credit where credit's due.
Hmm.
And then lastly, the last historic win, The Elephant Whisperers won Best Documentary Short, and it became the first Indian produced title to win, which again is so cool. I'm very happy. It seems like really Asian people of Asian descent had a big night. And that was, I imagine for people of Asian backgrounds that was a wonderful thing to see. So congratulations all around.
So before we talk about the winners and some of the big speeches and our favorites and things like that,
Mm-hmm.
I mentioned in the early part of the episode about the structuring of the show, and I think they need to like look at that a little bit because you had at the very beginning of the show, obviously you have the monologue, then you have best animated feature film, and then we go right into supporting actor and actress. And those are two of probably the
The
biggest
biggest.
moments that happened all
Yeah.
night, and they happened right back to back. Like
Mm-hmm.
he won his award, and you're coming down from the high of his incredible speech that he gave.
Yeah.
And then Jamie Lee Curtis wins right after that, and you're like, oh yeah, this is also like very well deserved, and she's been acting for decades and has an Oscar now. But then after that, you've got this whole period where nothing really big happens, and then
Mm-hmm.
they save all the huge awards for right at the end: screenplay, best actor, best actress, Best Director, Best Picture, and it builds. Obviously, Best Picture is never going to move from the last award, and I'm not saying it should, but I'm saying they could structure some of those maybe a little bit better, where you do Best Supporting Actor, and then we do 3 or 4 or 5 other ones, and then we do Best Supporting Actress, so that
Mhm.
there's, and it's no shame to these people that win the technical awards, but they're just not as recognizable as some of the actors and actresses that are there. And I think those are the ones that, if you're watching, that's probably who you want to see. And I think it creates, I don't know, it just creates a weird flow to the show when you have like such awesome first 45 minutes or so, and then you've got all the technical awards
Yeah,
and
in
the
the middle.
documentaries and the live action short films and things like that, which are definitely still important, but I just think not as many people know about them. And then you have all the big awards stacked in the last 45 minutes once again. So
Yeah, I don't disagree with you. I wonder, like, I try to think of their logic with that, and I bet some of it, I'm sure some of it is to keep people there listening and watching the show.
yeah.
But then I also think they could say, well, we don't want the actors to be more important than anybody else who contributed to the film, even though, let's be real, that people see it that way. They see,
hmm
actors and directors and Best Picture is what matters. But I like what you're saying about how you could spread it out. One thing I did like that they do, the order, especially that they did this time, it seemed like everybody performed their song, but I think it was a shortened version. That could have been my imagination, but I
No,
think
I
that was a
think it
good
was.
idea.
Yeah. Yep.
But I think that's good. You still get the gist of the song, but you don't have to hear the whole thing. And then I also like that they do the cutaways to they show like the movie, like a quick synopsis. They show like a minute of each film of the ones that are nominated. I think that's cool to do because some people like us are seeing all of the ones that are nominated, but there's plenty of people who don't have the time to do that. So it is neat to at least kind of see visually what this film looked like, what it was about. Also, it could make you interested to go see a film or watch one at home that you didn't get to see prior to that evening.
hmm
So I like that, but I agree with you. I wish they would structure it a little bit differently. I did think the best move they made the whole night, though, was they kept it moving. Like there weren't a lot of bits. We barely saw Jimmy Kimmel. They always do like a weird thing in the middle, though, where he's like talking to the audience or whoever's hosting. I didn't mind it because I felt like it was pretty quick. And this year it involved the cocaine bear. And then they also had a quick thing with Jenny the donkey from Banshees of Inisherin. I thought those were fine and pretty funny. So I didn't mind that, but I could see how some people are like, get rid of that entirely. But we saw him so little that it didn't bother me.
Yeah, those were very quick, and I thought, like you said, they were pretty funny, so I was perfectly okay with that. I just think that, like, and even like with the sound categories, like they gave out like best sound, best score, and best song all at different points, and it just seems like those categories should go together because they're all music related. It seems like makeup and hairstyling and costume design should go together because those are really, you know what I mean? It just seems like some of them should be grouped together. So we're like, okay, now we're doing the sound awards, now we're doing
Yes,
the costume award, and they do that with certain things like screenplay. They do best adapted, best
right.
original,
And
one
best
right after
original.
the other. So yeah.
Another thing that was weird, that this is just something random that happened, but because I had a couple people over to the house, it happened to all of us, but from different organizations. If you were looking at your phone, if you were on a time lapse, which I think we were getting updates about winners before they had been announced. I only had it happen once because I wasn't, that's part of the reason I didn't text you much, Jared. I didn't want to look at my phone, so I just set it down.
Yeah.
But I got a BBC update about Jamie Lee Curtis winning 10 minutes before she won,
Okay.
which was cool because that's what I had on my ballot and I was really excited about it. But anyway, that's another thing you have to kind of look out for. That's a problem with the digital age that you wouldn't have had 20 years ago. So anyway.
Yeah, I think I was a couple minutes behind. Like I was just streaming it, but I think I was like 2 or 3 minutes behind as well. So I was trying to stay off social media until a couple minutes after somebody had won an award, or like it was a commercial break, and I knew that they weren't going to hand out something right when they came
Yeah.
back or whatever. So yeah, but it was sometimes it's hard to avoid those spoilers on social
Uh-huh.
media. So we'll talk about some of the big wins on the night now. Obviously, the big winner, the big film everybody's talking about is Everything Everywhere All at Once. And that took home 7 out of 11 Oscars. So that is pretty impressive. Nominated in 11 categories, won 7 of those, including original screenplay, director, editing, best supporting actress, best supporting actor, best actress, and best picture. The biggest one of the night. So
Also, the Daniels, the directors of that, they were so delightful. And I loved hearing their speeches and especially the one, Daniel Kwan. It
yep.
was like he was really going at it with them, like I go to therapy and I have imposter syndrome and I don't, really low self-esteem. And I was like, wow, we're getting real here. But I appreciated that so much because I don't usually associate Hollywood with humility. So it was nice to actually see two men who seem really down to earth and really gracious winning so many awards. So good for them.
Yeah, I
Um,
liked the speeches were good. I think some people
mhm.
did get cut off, which was not great, but I also think
Yeah,
you should know at this point that whatever you win,
right.
if there's a group of you, as soon as one person is done talking, the next person has to be up at the microphone and talking almost before the last person to not get cut off. Like you have to be ready to go. And some of the groups of winners just like they were standing back while the other person had their moment, which is nice, but it's like you've got to be up there to not have them cut you off basically and play you off stage. So
Yeah. And I was watching last night. I told Jared earlier, everyone, I watched The Dark Knight. It was on Netflix. So I was watching it last night. It's one of my favorite movies. And I thought, oh dang, I remember when Joaquin Phoenix won. Well, first I started looking at Heath Ledger when Heath Ledger won and his parents accepted the award. It was so sad. And his sister. Then I watched Joaquin Phoenix's Oscar speech. And the only reason I brought this up is because another thing that was nice this year was like the speeches for the most part I thought were like good in length and they were topical without being preachy. They were just like sweet. I don't know. I don't really know a way, some years it's overly political, some years, which I don't disagree a lot with the politics, but I'm kind of like, now's not the time. Um, but I thought it was so nice to the speeches this year. But when I watched Joaquin's, I forgot how weird that speech was. I forgot about how he made me feel bad about like watching it. I wasn't even in the room because he was telling everyone to shut up and stop clapping. Then he starts talking about how like animals and mankind are all the same and we should be better to the earth. And I'm like, yeah, this is all true. But I feel like you're up here chastising people for just being alive and being at the ceremony. Take your Oscar and leave. It was just
yeah,
very strange.
we didn't have Joaquin there this year. We didn't have Quentin Tarantino there
Yeah.
this year. Leo wasn't there.
Yeah.
Some of these people that
Timothy
give these
Chalamet.
really long, obtuse
Oh.
speeches.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay. Yeah, Timmy hasn't one. Sorry. I was thinking of like people that we've seen a lot in recent years that weren't there.
yeah.
And then also I did wonder how they were going to present the awards that normally Will Smith would have he would have given the best actress one. And I
hmm
thought they did a great job. And I think if I remember correctly, more women gave all the awards at the end than men, which was cool.
Yeah, yep. And I liked how some of the awards too, like for costume design, they had the
Mhm.
costumes there on stage.
Yes, that was neat.
Cinematography, Michael B. Jordan and Jonathan Majors, they did this little like effect with the camera showing you
Yeah,
what it
that
would
was
look
cool.
like. So that some of that stuff was cool. So
I liked that.
another big one on the night, Brendan Fraser won Best Actor for The Whale. This was kind of a close race as it
Yeah.
got closer to the Oscars between him and Austin Butler.
Yep.
But Brendan did win the award, give a very nice speech,
He
and you could
did.
tell was I think the big theme of the evening was just appreciative. Everybody was so
Yes.
appreciative to
Genuine
win
gratitude.
their Oscars. Yeah, and Brendan
Yeah.
was no exception. So
I just by the end of the night, I just don't remember the last time I watched the Oscars and felt like so at peace and happy for people and like I could just go to sleep after.
yeah.
It was lovely. So I was thrilled for people even if and this was also I think this was the best ballot I've ever had, Jared.
I did not do great on my ballot. I took some swings and misses. So
I didn't and I actually did not do the thing I normally do where I do the want to win versus will win. I just did will win and I got 20 out of 23 right.
that's impressive. I did not. I forgot to count it up total at the end,
Mhm.
but I did not get that many correct. So I missed on some. I had Top Gun Maverick winning Best Picture because I just was rooting for that.
Yeah, that
Um,
would have been cool.
I think I had. I'm pretty sure I had Angela Bassett winning Best Supporting instead of Jamie Lee Curtis.
Yep,
So I missed on that one.
that was a close
Yeah.
race. That was one of the things I wasn't sure if we should mention this because we never know what people are actually thinking, but people have talked about how she definitely did not look happy on camera when Jamie Lee Curtis won. Which part of me is like, well, you know, maybe you aren't she did lose to a white woman. She did. I mean, she's had a career arguably as long as Jamie Lee Curtis. They have similar bodies of work really just in different genres. So I can see why that would be upsetting, but also I don't want to project that onto her and say she was upset. I've just heard that's like the general consensus, but who knows what you're feeling in that moment? And we probably never will. So,
Yeah, and there was a lot of great performances in the female side of acting that did not
oh,
get
yeah.
nominated this year.
Yep.
There was a lot of performances from Women Talking that didn't get nominated.
Mm-hmm.
Viola Davis didn't get nominated. We talked about this. Danielle
Yeah.
Deadwyler didn't get nominated. So there was probably like 15 great performances from women this year that definitely could have been
Yeah.
nominated in Best Actress or Best Supporting. So another big winner on the night for technical awards was All Quiet on the Western Front, winning Best Score, Production Design, Cinematography, and International Feature. A couple of those they did back to back. So like for 30
Yeah.
straight minutes, it was just All Quiet on the Western Front getting. They played.
They
Apparently, they
were the
only had one.
second
Yeah,
biggest winner of the night.
yeah, which is impressive. And they
Yeah.
apparently they only had one piece of music from that movie to play every time they walked up
Yes,
there.
but
So
that was definitely a battleground, for lack of a better word, with the people that came to our party, because some people were like, "Oh, I hated the music in that," and I was like, "Man, I really liked it. Like, it
yeah, I
stressed
did
me
too.
out.
Yeah, it was cool.
It
So
stressed me out, and it was a war, and you're supposed to be stressed. I liked it."
yeah, so second biggest winner, All Quiet on the Western Front. I think another big surprise here, as we're talking about like winners, and we'll get to like some of them in a second that just walked away with nothing. That was kind of surprising. So
Mm-hmm.
the biggest one for me was Banshees, which we'll talk about here in a minute.
Yes.
So
Yes.
also real quickly, Top Gun Maverick won Best Sound. No surprise there. That was the favorite in that category.
Mm-hmm.
Avatar won Best Visual Effects. Again, no surprise there. That was the
Obviously.
overwhelming favorite in that category as well. So they cleaned up they won some technical awards. Nice to see Top Gun Maverick get at least one Oscar. It was nominated for a couple, but did only won that one for Best Sound. So,
Mm-hmm.
so some snubs, as we mentioned a minute ago. Elvis, The Fablemans, Banshees of Inisherin, and Tar went home empty-handed despite 20 nominations among them. That's from Variety, counting all those nominations up. I think the biggest one for me is Banshees in terms of not winning anything, just because it was nominated in so many
Yes.
categories. For it to not win one was kind of surprising.
I agree. I was surprised mostly by Banshees. I was I wasn't surprised that Tar didn't win, because I kind of thought the
Yeah.
only thing I thought it would win was Kate Blanchett. If she would, I wanted Michelle to win, and I put Michelle on my ballot, but I thought that could be the only win. Um, but Banshees was the biggest. Like, that was crazy to me. And then Elvis only surprised me because there was so much momentum towards the end of award season that I was kind of like, oh, maybe they're just going to give everything to Elvis. And I'm glad they didn't, but I'm surprised it got nothing.
Yeah, that's where I lost a lot on my ballot too. Is I had Elvis winning costumes, makeup and hairstyling. I had it
Mm-hmm.
winning something else too, like some of those more technical categories, and it did not. It just got. It was kind of a, like you said, a front
Oh,
runner for a while. So
also, I thought that number sounded wrong, and I did copy it wrong from Variety, so I went back to check it. It was 30 nominations between
okay,
those movies. 30 of them, and they didn't get a single one.
so even more kind of wild that they didn't win a
Right,
single Oscar.
right.
Again, those movies were Elvis, The Fablemans, Banshees of Inisherin, and Tar, not winning
Yeah.
any at the Academy Awards. But you know what did win? Avatar: The Way of Water. Oscar
Oh,
winner,
okay.
Avatar: The Way of
You
Water.
know what? It got
So
one thing. I'm fine with it.
it did, but they can put Oscar winner on the DVD when it comes out. So
Right,
that's all
right,
they
right,
care
right.
about. Some controversy with the In Memoriam. They always leave out people every single year,
Every year, and people get so mad.
and I don't know how they leave people out. And this year they left out some big names from the In
They d-
Memoriam.
here's what I have thoughts on this. First of all, the only name I cared about seeing was Angela Lansbury, and I did, and I got emotional, and the moment passed. It's fine. I was expecting it. I was mentally prepared. Paul Sorvino, I was surprised he was left out. I didn't realize he had died, so I felt bad about that. And I think that got more attention because Mira Sorvino, his daughter, who I did not realize was his daughter till this week, she was really upset about it. Anne Heche wasn't mentioned, but Anne Heche, to be fair, was never nominated for an Oscar. She was never like, she was prevalent for a hot minute there, but I feel like it's not like she had this like storied career. And she did leave the earth in a very, like
Strange way.
a
Yeah.
strange way. And I'm not trying to victim blame at all. I'm just saying, like, she crashed into a house and was doing drugs, and like there was some severe mental illness there. I don't know. I can understand kind of why they didn't. Tom Sizemore died last week. I know that you could add somebody, but at the same time, like, he died last week. It's not like he died half a year ago and they forgot him. The one I was surprised by was Charles B. Dean. She is the one we all just talked about in Triangle of Sadness. She was one of the leads in Triangle of Sadness, which was nominated for Best Picture. Again, confusion. I don't know why, but they left her out, and I was surprised by that, considering like that was one of the nominated movies.
Yeah, and I think I don't know, as we go further and further into this social media digital age where we find out if somebody passes away like as soon as they pass away, I don't know how necessary the in memoriam segment's going to be at the Oscars. Like this might be a hot take, but like 10, 15 years from now, I mean, you see you everybody every time a celebrity dies, you get a push notification of it. So I think you just remember more throughout the year than like in years past when it might be like a thing you're like, oh, they passed away, I didn't know that. I find myself doing that less and less with the in memoriam as we go on throughout the, just because you hear about more celebrity deaths now than like before social media.
Dang,
So
I like the in memoriam. I want them
okay.
to leave it in. I also think it's a nice way to pay tribute to people who have contributed to the films that weren't nominated or did technical things that we never hear
Hmm.
about.
Yeah.
And also people like Angela Lansbury. I don't know. I like that they do it, and I also like that they always go to commercial after, so you have a minute to kind of take a
Yeah,
beat
that
before
is
they go back.
nice.
I think that's
I like that
respectful.
they like fade out to black and then give you a second and then
Yeah,
start the commercial break. Yeah. So,
yeah,
but I don't know. I it does take a while, but like you said, it is honoring people that have passed away.
yeah. But
So,
it's fair. Your
yeah.
opinion is fair.
Okay, Lady Gaga controversy. Lady Gaga decided 30 minutes before the Oscars, wasn't quite that soon, but it was like a couple hours before the Oscars. Because I was watching a red carpet thing on E at like 5:30 and they were like she might perform tonight. And then like by 7 on like ABC was like she will be performing tonight. So that sometime between that time frame, like 2 3 hours before the show, she decided she was going to perform. She came out in black t-shirt, like jeans with holes at the kneecaps, basically sat on a stool and did a very last minute performance. She also did like a speech before the song about how the song was so impactful for her. And I'm like, that's great, girl. But this is also from Top Gun Maverick of all movies. And so I get that this is an emotional song for you, but this is from Top Gun Maverick.
Yeah.
And I don't know if she just felt that because everybody else was performing their songs, she needed to perform. The sound mixing was weird, which is probably due to the fact that they didn't have a lot of time to rehearse it or didn't do a dress rehearsal of it like everybody else
Yeah.
did for their songs. So the sound was just all over the place during that performance. And the arrangement was also weird too. She performed like a totally different version of Hold My Hand.
Yeah, I didn't like it. I thought that it made the song the worst of all the 5 options just based on that performance. Also, I didn't care, but people keep talking about her chapped lips. Like how also, but part of me was like, they're probably chapped because she just had like a matte lipstick on for several hours, which if any woman in this world has worn a matte lipstick or man, when you take it off, your lips are like chapped to heck. Like they're not in good shape for a minute. I was more impressed with how clean her face looked, like how fresh faced it was, considering she had been, covered, caked in makeup minutes before the red carpet, like going to the champagne carpet. But the thing that annoyed me the most was her speech, because Lady Gaga, the thing you never hear about her is, gosh, she's so humble. You never hear that because I don't think she is. I think she's incredibly talented. I'm quite a fan. But yeah, you never hear like she's really down to earth and like super humble because she's not. And it's because she does things like she's the only person of all the performances who had to give a speech before. And then she said this song was really like very personal. What song isn't personal? If a songwriter writes it, it's obviously personal and matters to them. Just very strange. It was very off-putting. I wasn't a fan. And also, even the whole like waiting to the last minute, that's just another way to draw attention to yourself.
Drama.
I waited
Yeah.
till the last minute. Guess I'll pull it together when probably you knew 3 weeks ago you were coming. You already had your dress picked out. You already had, you knew you were coming. But thanks for adding the drama. It's already a drama-filled night, and that's why we're all here, because we watch movies. You
Yeah.
know?
Also, Rihanna performed, and she's pregnant. So
She looked so good. So good.
She did look good. She was very well dressed. So
yeah, and I also thought she gave a stellar performance. I was very impressed by her.
Yeah, I really liked that performance of "Lift Me Up" from Black Panther, Wakanda Forever. So finally, before we get into everybody's favorite segment, best and worst dressed, we have Will Smith jokes. There's a lot of them. Jimmy Kimmel had a lot of them in the monologue. One of his jokes was, quote, "If anyone in this theater commits an act of violence at any point during the show, you will be awarded the Oscar for Best Actor and permitted to give a 19-minute long speech. And that was one of the like last jokes he did in his monologue, which I thought his monologue was very funny,
I did
and
too.
very movie related. So
I did too. And also, like, that was a really, really cool way to call out how inappropriate last year was and how poorly the Academy dealt with it.
and he's
They've
like,
since said, like, we regret everything. We should have kicked him out. We shouldn't have let him give a speech. And I'm like, yeah, coulda, woulda, shoulda, but you did. And it set a horrible precedent for years to come. And
mhm.
you know, it's ridiculous that you let that happen. So thanks for saying you're sorry, but like the damage is done.
And that's what Kimmel said too. He was like, "Well, if anything happens again, you'll do exactly what you did last year, which was sit there. You all
Yeah.
did nothing. Some of you even
Yep.
hugged him after the situation occurred. He made a joke
Yep.
about
Said a
that too.
prayer
So
for
yeah."
him. Yep. Absolutely.
So I thought he addressed it in a very good way without being like, "Did you hear about the slap?"
Right.
Like, I don't know. I don't know if you watch Chris Rock's Netflix
I
special
watched
or
the few
whatever,
minutes where he's talking about it because
but
everybody was
he
talking
was
about it.
just like, riding. He's still riding off the coattails of that, like
Yeah.
a year later. Which, like, yeah, it's a very dramatic moment that happened at the Oscars, but we've dissected every angle of it at this point.
Right.
So just like make some mention of it and then move on and continue the ceremony. So,
Agreed.
which is what they did. Okay, on to best and worst dressed. All the looks on
Yes.
the champagne carpet. We have lots of people that Katie considers best dressed this year.
Yes.
So give us some of your best dressed.
Okay, so I limited myself. I have 20 total of best and worst together. So I will mention the ones that I thought were outstanding but are not my top yet. Nicole Kidman in Armani. It was like a black sequiny look. It had some flower appliques, beautiful. Mindy Kaling and Vera Wang, good heavens. Mindy Kaling, I feel like she is at the top of her fashion game right now. She was wearing white. She also looks stellar at the Vanity Fair Oscar party because I always look at what people wear to that. Also, Jessica Chastain and Gucci. She was almost my favorite. Jessica Chastain, no one does old Hollywood siren better than Jessica Chastain. I think she has a fantastic sense of style, and she looked amazing. She was in Gucci, if I didn't mention that. Stephanie Sue and Valentino. I thought the dress was red. It read red on camera, but apparently it was actually pink, like a bubblegum pink or like a
Okay.
watermelon pink. But I thought it was beautiful. So she was wearing Valentino. Rihanna was wearing Alaya. I loved hers. She looked great both during her performance and on the red carpet. Alaya was what she wore on the red carpet, but she showed off her baby bump, but it was also like really I thought very tasteful, but it was also cool because she is pregnant and that's its own superpower. And she's now performed at the Oscars and the Super Bowl while pregnant. So she's amazing. Okay, and then for men, I can't let the men go without being mentioned. My favorite best dressed men, this isn't my favorite, I'm saving this. Austin Butler and Saint Laurent. I mean, obviously I love YSL. This is a thing with me. But Austin Butler looked great. He was continuing his Elvis voice and also continuing his Elvis outfit, and he looked fantastic. I really, really liked it. Jay Ellis, who was from Top Gun Maverick, he was wearing Fendi. To me, he looked like the most like classic stud. He looked so good. It was just like a very classic tux. Ki Hui Kwan in Armani looked fantastic.
Looked great, yeah.
He just showed up. He is so loved. He's a wonderful man. My top dressed man, I don't think this will surprise anyone. It was very obvious to me from the beginning. Michael B. Jordan in Louis Vuitton. No question, hands down, good Lord, he looked amazing. So great job. And if you guys want to hear me talk about muscles, please listen to our Creed 3 episode. It will be coming out soon, where we talk about him. For the women, I have three best dressed women. Carrie Condon in Versace. She was wearing yellow, which I predicted would be one of the colors this year. She looked fabulous. It was the most beautiful lemon yellow shade for her skin. Her hair was just down, but done beautifully. She looked fantastic. And I thought that the silhouette of the dress was perfect for her shape, her body. Stellar. I feel like she just like knows her style. Malala Yousafzai, she was in Ralph Lauren, and I wanted to mention that because she was nominated, first of all, but also she was wearing, it was like a silver sequin, which there was a ton of metallic that night, a ton of silver and gold that I saw. She looked stunning. She was top 3 best dressed for me. And then the one at least I saved for last, Angela Bassett in Moschino. She looked amazing. She was wearing purple, which was, I thought it would be pink and yellow, which there was a lot of pink and yellow, but she's the only one I remember wearing purple. Fantastic. I mean, hands down best dressed. Looked fantastic head to toe. Gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous. Okay, so my
I
worst.
had
Yes.
I had
Oh,
before
yes.
you move on. I had
Tell me.
two more for best dressed, I thought.
Jared, I'm delighted. Tell me
Thanks.
everything.
I thought Vanessa Hudgens looked really good. She was hosting the
She
red
did.
carpet. I
Yes.
researched it just now. She was wearing Chanel on the red carpet.
Love a Chanel
And then I liked Colin Farrell and his son. They were on the red carpet, but they had matching tuxes on. I don't know who they were wearing, but I just thought that was cool. So
I did see his son. I saw them sitting. I didn't see them on the red carpet, but that's awesome.
yeah, so those were two more to add to the best dress list. The worst dress that you have here, I agree with a lot of these.
Thank you so much. Okay, everyone, I was telling Jared before we started tonight, it was the easiest worst dress picks I've ever had. I only looked up who they were wearing to source that, but otherwise I was like, I already know exactly the people I'm putting on here. So worst dress for me in no particular order, but I'll save the worst for last. The worst two. Ana de Armas and Louis Vuitton, that might be a bit of a stretch. I thought the color of her dress looked terrible on her. She is stunning. The dress itself was beautiful. Her body is beautiful. It was the color. I thought she looked washed out and sick. It was bad. Bad, bad, bad. She was wearing Louis Vuitton. Janelle Monáe, I think some people might get upset about that. She was wearing Vera Wang. I didn't like it. I really like her style. I think she has a killer sense of style, but to me, this was very lackluster compared to some of the other looks that she's had.
It was kind of interesting, too, because it was like orange, but then the top was like a corset. That was kind of weird. Yeah.
And it was just hanging off her body. I didn't like it.
That's kind of odd.
This one was insane. Alison Williams and Giambattista Valli. She was wearing a pink dress that if you looked from her shoulders up was stunning. Her hair, her makeup, the top of the dress, beautiful. From like chest down, I don't know what happened.
It's like a completely different outfit, honestly.
It really is. It was god awful. And she is gorgeous. And I just thought, Alison, what are you doing? So
she wore something. I look at these pictures while you mention them.
Please do.
She wore something much better to the Vanity Fair party. I don't know what it is, but it was like gold. It looks way better than what she wore to the Oscars.
Such a banner year that I'm like, what are you doing? But and also everyone, I do this every year, but I'll post some of these best and worst dressed. I'll post them when we post about the episode. So if you don't want to look them up, you don't have to. Rooney Mara and Alexander McQueen, terrible. I don't know if I'm not even trying to be funny. She looked distressed. I don't know if I'm definitely not trying to make fun. If someone has a posture issue because of a medical condition, that's one thing. Her posture was appalling. And the dress looked like it was literally curving her shoulders down. Like, I feel like the dress was making the posture bad. It was a bad color. She looked unhappy. She wouldn't stand when Sarah Polley won. And she was like, anyone that was part of this movie stand up. Rooney wouldn't stand up. It was just very strange. And I was like, Rooney, my God. But she and Joaquin, it makes so much sense. She just keeps solidifying it. Also,
yeah, that dress just like... looking at pictures, it makes her, again, the washed out thing, like you mentioned with Ana de Armas. It's like the same color as her skin tone. So it just doesn't work very well.
Yeah. Then this one, I don't think this will upset people, but Cate Blanchett. Oh, no. And the reason I say Cate is one of those people that I think has pretty amazing style, but every once in a while, she's like Nicole Kidman. She picks something that you're like, is that an Australian thing? Like, is that something we don't understand in America, that style that you're doing? And that's what happened that night. I did think the top of the dress, it was like an aquamarine blue, was stunning. I liked the way it was shaped. I liked the color on her. It was the bottom of the dress that looked terrible with the top. And I just thought, this does nothing to like show off.
It looks like she's wearing a baggy sweatshirt.
It was
with
so
like pants.
bad.
Yeah.
And the colors, the contrast, it was such a stark contrast. It was terrible. Terrible, terrible. So sorry. Also, when our party started and the ceremony was starting and I saw her, I was like, that is not, I'm winning my third Oscar dress. Like, that is not I came here with confidence. I came here to win. That is like, yeah, I had a good chance, but I'm not winning tonight. So I just threw this on. Anyway, that's what it was telling me. My
Yeah.
top 2, without question, worst dressed. I will debate with anyone who wants to. Florence Pugh and Valentino. Oh no. I wish we had like a
This
bad I wish we had like a good, like a horrible sound we could edit
I
in
know.
here. Florence, so just imagine that, people. Florence was wearing Valentino. It looked like, I think people have called it a rumpled shower curtain, but it wasn't just that. The colors didn't look good. Her hair was terrible. I don't know what that look was. The necklace was cool. I liked her necklace. The shoes were too chunky. It was like she was putting every weird style she could think of with biker shorts underneath the dress. And the dress was open so you could see it. Terrible. Everything about it was bad. Everything. And I liked the
Yeah,
necklace, but even with
didn't
the rest
love
of the
it.
outfit, it didn't save it. It was terrible. And Florence, I think, has an excellent sense of style, so it was really disappointing. But at least she wasn't nominated for anything.
I have
And
one more
then,
to do before you go to your
oh,
worst
go ahead.
dressed.
Okay. Do it.
I did not think Jessie Buckley looked very good either.
I didn't either. She
in
was
this
on my
black,
contenders. It
like
was bad.
poofy shoulders, bright
her
red
hair
hair
is
type
like-
deal.
Her hair
Yeah,
is like the reddest red you've ever seen. And we don't mean like orange, beautiful red like Jessica Chastain. We mean like the bottle fell on top of her head to make it
Yeah.
fire red.
I was just
Bad.
like, whew, that's
Terrible.
a choice, girl. So
It was such a- That's another person that I'm like, is this an English thing? Because Florence Pugh does the same. Some of the stuff she wears, I'm like, yeah, that's really cool and edgy, and like I would see that in London. But sometimes it just doesn't translate well. So Jessie Buckley, that was bad. And I think Jared and I both agree, worst dressed without question. I guarantee you I will put this in the slides for our podcast social media post. Jonathan Majors. And let me tell you who he was wearing. He was wearing a suit his friend made, according to menshealth.com. I searched hard and wide. I probably spent 20 minutes last night looking for who made this suit. It was a friend. I have so many thoughts on this. Jonathan Majors is like peak performance right now. His star is on the rise. He is getting role after role after role. He has a degree from Yale. He's an amazing actor. He's very beloved. But to pick that suit on the most important night in like film of the year, crazy. And it's cool. I totally support wanting to support your friend rather than a big name designer. But make sure you iron it. Get it steamed. Like, have it looking nice and pressed before you go out in it. It was wrinkled. It was a mess. It was sloppy. And he had white socks on with a full black outfit. And then shoes that looked like, Jared, did you see a full body picture? The shoes were black shoes that looked like legitimate clown shoes that you see a performer wear at a children's birthday party, clown performer, where they're huge at the end. And I don't mean like stylistically they were square toe, not pointy toe, whatever. It was like a clown shoe.
yeah, I don't know if you saw his red carpet interview or not, but he said he was paying tribute to Frederick Douglass with this outfit.
Yes.
So that was the inspiration behind it. I think the problem with it, though, is it's not tailored very well.
Yes.
It's very baggy,
Yep.
which you don't want really in a suit. So yeah, I agree with you on that worst for Jonathan Majors. So I did have two more, I think, that I wanted to mention for best dress that I forgot.
Go right ahead.
Looking at pictures. Pedro Pascal, I thought looked good. He was
did
wearing
look very nice.
Zegna. And I actually liked the Rock suit too. He was in Dolce and Gabbana,
Yeah.
and he had this
It
like
was pink.
pink type deal going on. I just thought it looked really good with his skin tone. It kind of popped, but not in like a super aggressive way. So, and he
Yes.
presented. I thought it looked good when he presented. So,
Yeah, I
Yeah.
liked it. That was actually
also
what I thought.
he's like a huge dude. So
Yeah.
stuff sometimes can be hard to look good on you when you have muscles that are gigantic.
Yeah.
So
He I liked it a lot when he presented. I liked how it showed up on camera, but when they took like still photos, I didn't like it quite as much. But
Mhm.
I thought it like on a camera, it was beautiful.
yeah, yep. So okay, that's our best and worst dressed from the Oscars. So I think that's our full Oscars recap. We covered everything for
Yes.
you. We covered the awards, the fashion, the ceremony, the monologue, everything. Lady Gaga, we got it all for you. So you can follow the show on social media at Podcast Silver on Twitter and Instagram. Search the Silver Screen Podcast on Facebook and find our letterbox profiles in the description for the show notes wherever you listen. Just click down there and you'll be able to find us on Letterboxd. Our social media links are also there as well if you want to follow us on one of those platforms. And then on our next episode, we'll be reviewing John Wick Chapter 4, the next installment in the John Wick series. This one is 2 hours and 49 minutes long.
Yikes.
My initial reaction is no John Wick movie needs to be this long,
Nope.
but I'll give it a shot. I'll go in with a fair critique like I do for every movie that we see. But if you're making a 2 hour and 49-minute John Wick movie, it better be good. That's all I gotta say. So
I might for once in my life have to contact you about Run P and know when I have to get up, because I don't think I can make it. Especially if it's going to be a 3 hour movie and I'm in theaters, I'm going to have a snack and a drink, and that's a lot.
yeah.
So
Plus with trailers, now you're like
Yeah.
3.5 hours. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you get there 10 minutes early. It's a whole day commitment to see
It's a
John
day.
Wick Chapter 3.
But we'll do it for the pod.
Or Chapter 4. Yeah. So
Yeah.
okay, that's our next episode, John Wick Chapter 4.
Until next time, we'd like to thank the Academy.